Hey everyone, we are working to hit 1,000 subscribers and I need your help to get there. If you enjoy the content, please hit that subscribe button right now.
Let me tell you something right now. Let me tell you something that a lot of people in this league, a lot of analysts, a lot of so-called experts are completely sleeping on. Shedeur Sanders just walked into Cleveland Browns OTAs and showed everybody, the front office, the coaching staff, the media, the fans, every single person who wrote him off after the draft, that he is not here to sit quietly and wait his turn. He is here to compete. He is here to win. And the fact that we are even having a conversation about whether Deshaun Watson is going to hold on to that starting job tells you everything you need to know about where this situation is headed. My name is Dre Fiver. You are locked into Dre Reports. And today, we are going deep on what actually went down at Browns OTAs, what Shedeur Sanders is quietly building behind the scenes, where Deshaun Watson truly stands in this competition, and why Gabriel might as well start packing his bags right now. Buckle up, because this one is going to be a ride. Let's start from the very top because context matters here. When the Cleveland Browns selected Shedeur Sanders in the draft, the reaction from the national media was loud and it was messy. People were screaming about the slide. People were writing entire think pieces about what his draft position meant for his confidence, his ceiling, his future. And through all of that noise, through all of that outside chatter, Shedeur Sanders kept his head down. He kept working. And now we are at OTAs, the first real live look that anybody gets at this quarterback room in a competitive setting. And what did Shedeur Sanders do? He went out there and he made people pay attention. Not because he threw for 1,000 yards, not because he had some jaw-dropping highlight that broke the internet. He made people pay attention because of something far more important and far more difficult to develop at the NFL level: his processing speed. And if you know football, if you really know what separates good quarterbacks from great ones, you understand exactly why that matters more than any individual throw. Here is what I saw, and here is what I want you to understand. When Shedeur Sanders dropped back in those 7-on-7 and 11-on-11 periods, the thing that jumped out immediately was how much faster his eyes were moving. First read, second read, third read, ball out. That is the rhythm. That is the music of a quarterback who is starting to truly internalize an NFL offense. Last season, there were moments where you could see him holding the ball a beat too long, searching, recalibrating. That hesitation at the NFL level gets you killed. Defensive coordinators live for that half second of indecision. And right now, at this stage of his development, that hesitation is shrinking. It is visibly, noticeably shrinking. Todd Monkin made a comment that Shedeur is developing fast, and I want you to sit with that for a second, because Todd Monkin does not hand out compliments the way some coaches do. He is a detail-oriented offensive mind who demands precision and understanding from his quarterbacks. When a guy like that says your young quarterback is developing fast, that is not a throwaway line. That is a signal. Now, let me break down the specific play that had everybody talking, because I think the football IQ demonstrated on this one rep deserves way more attention than it got. Shedeur drops back and immediately he is reading the coverage. The tell is the linebacker at number 27, who is staring directly at Shedeur from the snap. Both of the underneath defenders are doing the same thing, eyes locked on the quarterback. That is zone coverage. That is a defense that is playing with their eyes rather than their assignments, which means there are windows to be found. And here is where the manipulation comes in. Shedeur turns his head to the outside and watch what happens to that underneath defender. He moves. He shifts his leverage because the quarterback's eyes told him the ball might be going that direction. Now the middle of the field has cracked open, just slightly, just enough. Shedeur comes back and he fires a laser into a tight window over the middle for a significant gain. That is not luck. That is not arm talent alone. That is a 22-year-old quarterback understanding how to move a defense with his eyes, how to create space that does not exist, how to think one step ahead of a defensive back. That is genuine growth. And I am going to keep saying it because not enough people are giving him credit for it. But look, I am not going to sit here and pretend everything was perfect, because it was not. There was one interception that got a lot of the headlines, and we need to talk about it honestly. Shedeur goes through his progression, identifies the zone, manipulates 27 again, comes back to fire to his receiver, and the ball gets jumped. Now here is where it gets interesting because I put a lot of that blame on Jerry Jeudy, not on Shedeur. Jerry Jeudy stops his route. He does not attack the football. He is coming back to the ball, his body language shifts, and that tells the defensive back exactly where the throw is going before it even gets there. At the NFL level, wide receivers have to attack the football. You cannot stop and wait for it to arrive. You have to go get it, use your body, protect the catch point, make it difficult for a defender to undercut the route. Shedeur did not do that. Now, could the ball have come out a split second faster? Maybe? Could it have been placed on the outside shoulder to eliminate the possibility of an undercut route? Absolutely, and that is a fair critique, but to put the entire interception on Shedeur Sanders while ignoring what the receiver did is intellectually dishonest, and I am not going to participate in that narrative. The processing was there, the manipulation was there. The execution was not perfect, and that is fine because this is OTAs in May and Shedeur Sanders is still learning. What I want to spend some real time on is another moment from practice that did not get nearly enough attention, and this one actually tells you more about Shedeur's football instincts than the touchdown throws do. There is a play in the 11-on-11 period where the pocket starts to break down. Pressure is coming. A lot of young quarterbacks in that situation do one of two things. They either panic and throw off their back foot into trouble, or they take off and run without scanning downfield first. Shedeur did neither. He stepped up in the pocket, subtle movement, kept his eyes downfield, and then, this is the part I love, he acted like he was going to take off running. The linebacker bites. He crashes down to stop the run, and the moment that linebacker's weight shifts forward, Shedeur is already looking to the tight end in the flat. The tight end makes a terrific one-handed catch for a solid gain, and the Browns are moving the chains. That is improvisational football IQ. That is a quarterback who is not just reading the defense on paper, but responding to it in real time, in the moment, with his feet and his eyes working together. You simply cannot teach that. You can develop it, you can create the environment for it to grow, but that instinct either exists in a player or it does not. In Shedeur Sanders, it exists. Now, let us talk about the elephant in the room, Deshaun Watson, because I have been very clear on this channel about where I stand on this competition, and I am not going to pretend that Watson did not show up at OTAs and look like a starting caliber quarterback, because he did. I have to be honest with you. Deshaun Watson came in and had some genuine moments that reminded you of why this league once considered him one of the best quarterbacks in the game. The play of the day, and I mean this genuinely, belonged to Watson. He identified a two-safety look. Watched the field side safety's leverage, understood that if that safety rotated down into the box, it was a yes read on the go route to the outside, and he threw a perfectly placed football down the sideline to Denzel Worley for what would have been a massive gain. The ball placement was excellent. The decision-making was fast. And Denzel Boston, let me give that man his flowers real quick, because Boston is making a case to be something special in this offense. That stutter and go against a legitimate cornerback in Tyson Campbell, who by the way is no joke in coverage, was beautiful. If Boston keeps playing like that, he could genuinely be a weapon in Todd Monkin's system. But here is my honest opinion about Deshaun Watson, and I want you to hear me on this. What I saw from Watson at OTAs is not new information. We know Watson can make those throws. We know he has the arm talent, the release, the football IQ to execute at a high level. The question has never been whether Deshaun Watson has the skill set. The question is whether Deshaun Watson can stay healthy, stay consistent, and produce over the course of an entire season without the wheels falling off. That is the question that has haunted this franchise for 2 years, and that is the question that no amount of OTA footage can answer. What we can say right now is that he looks healthy. He looks sharp. His footwork looks dialed in, and his mechanics appear to be in a good place. But I am keeping my expectations measured until I see him in pads, until I see him take hits in a real game environment, because that is the only real test. My prediction, since you asked, and even if you did not ask, I am giving it to you anyway because that is what we do here, is that Deshaun Watson goes into training camp as the #1 quarterback. He gets the first-team reps. He gets the benefit of the doubt from Andrew Berry and the front office because of the contract situation, because of the investment, because of everything that comes with being the guy they traded multiple first-round picks to get. That is just the reality of the NFL. Money talks and contracts scream. But I also think that if Watson stumbles, if he struggles in the preseason, if the chemistry with the receivers is not there, if the offense looks flat, the leash is going to be dramatically shorter than it would have been a year ago. Because now there is a real alternative. Now there is a young quarterback in this building who is developing faster than expected, who is making smart decisions, who is earning the trust of the coaching staff day by day and rep by rep. That changes the calculation completely. Now I want to give you my full rundown on Dillon Gabriel, because this is a storyline that is moving fast, and I do not think enough people are tracking it. Dillon Gabriel went 1 for 4 at OTA's practice, 1 completion, 1 interception, and critically, one of those incompletions was a ball thrown into the dirt with no one in the area. Now look, I do not want to be completely savage about a player who is just trying to make a roster, but the numbers tell the story. Gabriel is not winning the quarterback 3 battle right now. He is not even close. And the most interesting part of this whole situation is that Talon Green, who barely got a single rep in the 7-on-7 period, actually looks like he might be more interesting as a developmental prospect than Gabriel at this stage. Green is a big guy. He can move, he has a live arm. He just is not getting the reps because the depth chart ahead of him is too crowded for him to see real work. But I genuinely believe that as we get deeper into training camp, as the competition shakes itself out, Dillon Gabriel is going to find himself on the outside looking in. And my bet is he gets traded, a 5th-round pick, maybe a 6th, to a team that wants a camp arm or a developmental piece. It is not a glamorous ending to his time in Cleveland, but it is a realistic one. What I think is actually fascinating about the Talon Green situation is how closely it mirrors what Shedeur Sanders was going through a year ago. Think about it. Last year, Shedeur was buried on the depth chart. He was getting minimal reps behind Joe Flacco, behind Kenny Pickett, behind Dillon Gabriel. He was the guy at the end of the line waiting for his number to be called, working on the scout team, trying to absorb as much of the offense as he could from the sideline. And now, 12 months later, he is in a legitimate starting quarterback competition that the entire NFL world is watching. That is not a coincidence. That is what development looks like when a player has the work ethic and the intelligence to make the most of limited opportunities. Talon Green is now in that same position, last in line, watching and waiting, trying to learn everything he can. Whether he develops the same way Shedeur did remains to be seen, but the blueprint is right there in front of him. Let me zoom out for a second and talk about Todd Monken's offense, because I think this is an underrated part of the conversation. What Monkin is building in Cleveland is an offense that puts a tremendous premium on quarterback processing speed and pre-snap diagnosis. This is not a system designed for a quarterback who needs to rely on one read and throw. It is a multiple concept, multiple formation offense that asks the quarterback to identify coverage, adjust the play at the line, execute manipulations before the snap, and then process through progressions quickly after the ball is snapped. That is a lot. That is genuinely a lot to ask of any quarterback, let alone a young one in his first or second year in the league. And the fact that Shedeur Sanders is processing faster, is manipulating defenders with his eyes, is taking what the defense gives him rather than forcing the ball into tight windows, all of that tells me that he is not just learning Monkin's playbook. He is starting to understand Monkin's offense. Those are two very different things, and the gap between them is exactly where quarterbacks either break through to the next level or stagnate and never reach their potential. Here is what I want people to understand about this quarterback competition as we head toward training camp. This is not a situation where the outcome is predetermined. This is not a case where the coaching staff has already made up their mind and they're just going through the motions of a competition to appease the fan base. This is a real, live, open competition, and the reason I believe that is because of what Todd Monkin said. Monkin said Shedeur is developing fast. Monkin is not the kind of coach who says things like that without meaning them. If Monkin had already decided Watson was his guy regardless of performance, he would not be praising the young backup's development publicly. That would create unnecessary pressure and unnecessary drama. The fact that he is saying it out loud on record tells me he sees something real in Shedeur Sanders, and it tells me the door is open. Now, let me get into what I think happens when the pads come on in training camp, because OTAs in shells and shorts are one thing. Training camp in full pads with the hitting and the physicality and the real game speed pressure is something else entirely. This is where we are going to find out what both of these quarterbacks are truly made of. Watson has not taken consistent full-speed hits in a competitive environment in a significant amount of time. How his body responds to training camp, how his confidence holds up when defenders are actually getting after him, that is going to tell us a tremendous amount. And for Shedeur, training camp is going to be his first real test of whether the processing improvements we saw at OTAs hold up when the stakes are higher and the defense is allowed to be more physical. My gut says yes. My gut says Shedeur has the mental makeup to handle that environment. But gut feelings are not facts, and I am going to let the football speak. What I will say with absolute confidence is this. The Cleveland Browns are in a far more interesting position at the quarterback spot than anybody gave them credit for heading into this offseason. A few months ago, the conversation around this franchise was dominated by the weight of the Watson contract, the uncertainty about the future, the sense that Cleveland had painted themselves into a corner with no real way out. And now they have a genuine competition. Now they have a young quarterback who is showing genuine growth at the professional level. Now they have a coaching staff that appears to believe in the development process and is not just going to hand Watson the keys because of the money involved. That is a completely different energy, and it is an energy that this fan base deserves after everything they have been through. I am going to leave you with this. Shedeur Sanders slid in the draft. People said it was going to break him. People said it was going to affect his mentality, his preparation, his willingness to compete. And every single day since that draft, he has come into this building and done the work. He manipulated defenders with his eyes at OTAs. He stepped up in a collapsing pocket and made a veteran play. He processed faster than he has at any point in his professional career. He is getting better, and he is getting better fast. The competition is real. The drama is just getting started. And Dre Reports is going to be right here every single step of the way, covering every rep, every rumor, and every roster move that comes out of Berea. Now, here is what I need from you. If you watch this entire video, if you are locked in on this Browns quarterback situation the way I am, smash that like button right now. I want to see this thing crack 1,000 likes because this story deserves all the attention we can give it. Drop a comment below. Do you think Shedeur Sanders takes the starting job before week 1? Or is Deshaun Watson walking out of training camp as the guy? I want to read every single one of your takes. And if you are not subscribed to Dre Reports yet, what are you even doing? Hit that subscribe button. Turn on your post notifications, because when the next OTA report drops, when training camp starts popping off, when this quarterback competition gets real in August, you are going to want to be here for every second of it. I am Dre Fiver. No filter. No fluff. Just the truth. See you on the next one.